Hi gang, Ed here, and it is day 13, and I want to give you a bit of an example of a day in the life of an internet marketer, and we're going to use day 13 as the example. All that hard work that we did last week in market research is going to pay off big time this week. I know it may have seemed like an awful lot, but let me tell you, after years of experience, all those no's that you got have just saved you an enormous amount of time, which is really, really important. And you'll see how things really start to move at a rapid pace now. And today's the first part of that. So let's go through the presentation. And I should add there is a PDF version of this presentation available on the 30-day challenge website in the training section on day 13. And the web address is there. Okay, let's keep cracking. Now, the first thing that's really important to understand with internet marketing in the year 2007 is that content is king. Actually, scratch that. Great content is king. Not rubbish content, great content. And there's a really easy way to ask yourself whether you've given good content or not. And it's simply, will the person who's arrived at my page and looked at that piece of content, are they happier than when they arrived? Did they get what they expected to see? And as long as you follow that criteria, that is one of the key platforms of marketing the way the internet works. So often people are using diversion skills and tricks and all these sorts of things, and as you will learn this week, internet marketing in 2007, there's no need for it, there's no excuse. Why not give people exactly the information they are after? And having good content is a key part of that. So now what we're going to do is put your phrase to work. We've slaved over them. We've got a couple of them. Some of you may have more if you're being particularly overachieving, so to speak. But what we're going to do is I want you to create 3 mini articles for each phrase. So it's a total of 6. When I say articles, they're almost like a couple of paragraphs each. And to show you what I've done, I've actually done that for you, and I've used free speed reading as the example. So now let's have a look at what we do. And this, remember, I said a day in the life. This is basically what I do. I go and first get that inspiration, and the inspiration, of course, for me comes from golden nuggets. Now, where am I going to get great golden nuggets using the golden nugget strategy, which we taught you on day 10? Yep, absolutely right. Blog lines is going to be absolutely the first place that we should stop for these sorts of nuggets, because if you remember when we set up blog lines, in fact, I think I've got a picture here. Yeah, great. So you can see here, you can head to Bloglines, and the URL there is www.bloglines.com/myblogs. And again, there is a PDF on the 30-day challenge site if you're finding this a little bit hard to follow. And I literally, on the left-hand side there, you can see where I've got an arrow pointing with let's see what's up today. You can see there I've circled speed reading, and over the past 24 hours or so, you can see there were 24 Google News articles with the phrase speed reading in them, and Google blog search, in other words blogs, there was 27. Now, I hope you actually took the initiative and expanded out this, because there are so many other places you could be looking for phrases related to whatever your topic is. Technorati is another one, for example, that you can set up this type of search, and that's a really good one because it's blogs everywhere. So we'll have a look at Technorati a bit later on, but again, if you use that same technique of finding feeds, you can use that as well. And so that's what I'll do. I'll click on each of those and see what I can find to get some articles which will trigger the articles that I need, the ideas for articles that I'm going to need to write for this particular day. While I'm here, and this will be particularly useful in the PDF, I've just circled something which a lot of people miss in blog lines. You can see in the orange section there, the hotkeys. And let me tell you, there's so much time saved with this particular thing just by using, rather than scrolling with a mouse, just using, say, the J key for next article or the K for the previous article. It just works so much better. Toggle to keep new. If there's a really interesting article, for example, you don't want it to disappear once you've stopped reading it, you hit the N, so you make it keep new, so you can keep hold of it. Of course, hopefully you're using Google Notebook or something else along those lines to track. Now in this case, here's the Google News results for speed reading. And basically I'm looking for inspiration here. And as it turns out, there's absolute heaps. So I'm going to show you one example, and then you guys need to go with your own phrases and come up with 3. Now, can you get 3 articles from the one example here? Sort of 3 mini paragraphs that we're going to write from here, from one article? Absolutely you can, very easily. There's no real rule to it. It's more inspiration. What's very important is you get into the habit of creating these 3 little mini pieces of content, and again, you'll see exactly what I mean by that in a moment. It's better to get in the habit of that, because really creating content is the heavy lifting of internet marketing. And when I say heavy lifting, I mean it's hardly hard work. In fact, once you start to understand how it's done, it's easy as. And in fact, what you might find yourself doing is, as you get bigger, you get some money under your belt, you'll outsource this task and you'll have others pay for it, which is what I do for any of my big niches, because I don't want to be sitting there writing articles all the time. But when we're just starting out, it's brilliant, and it's good for you to do it when you're starting out. So when you come to perhaps outsource it, you're going to be able to direct them much better, because you've actually done what you're talking about. So the thing that really tickled my fancy, there's a couple here. The first article I love because it's a Scientific American article. And why would you think I love that in particular? Well, you're absolutely right. Credibility. Scientific American, published in Scientific American, it's got to be credible. And so I thought, well, I'll choose that article. I've got to say, the Harry Potter article I would have used, except unfortunately they'd taken it down already. But where the Sun tabloid employed the speed reading champion to write the review for the final Harry Potter, and she took 47 minutes and 1 second to read it, which is phenomenal. And boy, if you can't get articles out of that, I don't know where you can get articles. So let's go and have a look at this. Here's the article, and if you've got the PDF, you'll be able to actually click on the check out the article here, and it'll actually take you to the actual article. I just thought it might be interesting for you to have a look at it, because you may even come out with different points than I did. So what I did is, before I get into exactly showing you what I did, the other thing you're going to need to hear is some sort of word processing thing, and it doesn't even need to be, you can just use a text editor or Notepad. I think on the PC it's called text editor on the Mac. Notepad's fine for this, because you don't have to get fancy. Word will do just fine. Something that I'll be using through the challenge, because it's cross-platform and it's very portable on the web, is Google Docs and spreadsheets. And I don't know if you've tried these out, but gang, I've got to tell you, they're absolutely brilliant. And the other thing about them is they're great for collaboration with teams, and we use these documents, for example, for a project that Dan and I do with a bunch of Immediate Edge members. We use Google Docs to keep track of everything, and it works an absolute treat. It's really cool. So as I went down through the Scientific American article, you'll see, and you see I've highlighted it there in blue, that the findings were the phonics, not surprisingly, the largest component of reading speed, was determined 62% of how quick people can actually read. Now what I did, and thank you for this tip, whoever put it on the blog, because I showed a much more complex way. If you just highlight the text you want to copy and you right click, and if you're on a Macintosh and it's only got one button, that's you hold down the control key and click, and look at this. You can see at the very bottom it says, and with Firefox, note this, Google Notebook. How cool is that? It just automatically drops it in for you. What an excellent time saver. So you can see here now, I've just been having a spin around, and interestingly, this article led me to an article on phonics could prevent dyslexia. which I found very interesting and very cool. If I was ever doing a teaching to read type product, that could be interesting data for that as well. So I thought I'd just grab that at the same time. But I got all the key elements of what I thought, and that's what you need to do. You need to find an article, highlight the bits that are the wow facts, and either write them on your 3x5 cards or right click and put them into Notepad. Because there's another really cool feature of Notepad, which is you can highlight the particular note, and then, as you can see here, I've circled in orange, export to Google Docs. And here we are at Google Docs. And this is the article that I've written. Now you can see there it's not that big. It took me about 8-9 minutes to write. And all I did, and again, if you've read the article, and if you haven't, I suggest you do read it just so you can get the context. And I've just made some stuff up. It's not Shakespeare, folks. Not even close. There's spelling mistakes here I can see, punctuation errors, all issues. But we're not here to win a prize for our grammar, thank goodness. What we're here for is to start to get you into the habit of writing content on a daily basis, or doing some form of content. What I'm doing here would count as another form of content, doing this recording. But I've highlighted a couple of things. One, you notice the phrase which I was targeting, free speed reading, appears in the headline. That first line is actually what I'd use as the headline for, say, if I was using this for a blog post. And in the first paragraph, free speed reading. And that's really, really important, and it'll become even more important as we reveal more of the process through the course of this week. So, and I just wrote there, have a read of it. As I say, it's not Shakespeare. But the point is I want to make it sound real, and I want to make the article seem conversational. Because let's face it, who do you take the notice of the most? Your best friend. Who do you enjoy speaking to the most? Your best friend. And don't you notice there's a certain casualness of that communication? That really is the key. So many people, when they write so formally because we're taught to do that at school, which is such a shame. The best writers write conversationally. Now, I'm not saying this is a particularly good example, but it's all it needs to do. As I say, this is not Mrs. Webster, and she's not marking me for English. This is about making money, and this will do just nicely for that purpose. So down the bottom, you'll notice I've put another line where I put, here's a link to an article. I think it's good manners, and in fact, I don't think saying it's law is the right word, but it's certainly very much a very important concept to quote your sources and to provide a link back to the original source of the article. That's an important thing to do. I think it's good manners, and if you use it in a blog or so on, you should always quote that source material. You should do it that way. Okay, gang, so now it's your turn. Today's mission is to write 3 short articles for each phrase. Feel free to use Google Docs, Word, etc. Remember to put your phrase in the heading, the first sentence, and I've said here, keep it light, keep it breezy, keep it friendly and conversational, just like you discuss with your with a good friend. Now, I know that writing content for people where English is a second language is a challenge. Feel free to do this in your own particular language because it'll work just as well, but also have a crack at doing it using English, because believe it or not, the message is more important than the spelling and the grammar. I agree, there is a tiny percentage of the population where bad spelling and punctuation really, really grates, and I'm sure those people have left the 30-day challenge because my spelling is atrocious. However, that is a slight issue for a very small part of the population. The rest of the people, it's intent, and it's actually more real if there's an occasional spelling mistake. I'm not saying go and deliberately not spell correctly, but don't freak out about it. We're not aiming for perfection here. You have your big win of the day just by completing those 3 articles for those 2 phases, so you get 6 articles all up. Okay, that's it.